Hello guys, welcome back to the Trveheim Festival. I'm sitting here with Olaf from Enforcer. Hello Olaf.
Hello.
And it's a great pleasure. Welcome to the Trveheim Festival, first of all. And you're playing headliner slot tonight. How does that make you feel?
Well, it makes me feel good, of course. But yeah, we've been around for a while now, and I think it's nice to be able to come here to Germany and deliver a full show, the kind of show that we want to deliver to the people who come here. And it's a completely different thing to make a full show where you have like everything thought through, all the transitions, all the songs. You have the dynamics of different songs instead of just going on stage and do a couple of songs just to show yourself and then get out of there.
Would you say it's about time that like a newer generation of bands picks up these important slots?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, not only us, but we have several new, like traditional metal bands who have like made it really, really great. So I think it's great that we and a couple of other bands get the like recognition that's needed for the actual survival of the genre. To be honest with you, yeah.
All right. Obviously, the new album Zenith is a cover I want to cover up here. It caused quite a discussion in the metal scene. Let's call it that way. Did you understand that? Was that like a intended controversy you put up there?
Yeah, of course. We knew that we were, or maybe not with the album, but with the way we chose to present it. That we chose like "Die for the Devil" as the first song. We because we noticed when we released the "Speak the Tongue of Heathen Gods" record, when we released "Stellar Plains," that. There was no shock value. Everyone was like expecting us to do that type of song, and was like, thumbs up, great, nothing more. Like it ended up on something like 6,000 views or something on YouTube, and we wanted something that people could discuss and start to talk about a little bit and discuss. Of course, that was intentional, but when it comes to the album, there's nothing like that. It's just a little bit of how we presented it. Yeah.
Because in a lot of reviews, I wrote that Enforcer now changed their style. Like, genre names like hard rock and glam metal were putting up there. I'm just interested if you feel that same way, because I wrote an interview where you talked about Def Leppard being something that inspired you. But
well, I think now they have no idea what they're talking about. We have made a classic heavy metal album, and that's what we've been doing. We've been inspired by bands such as like Iron Maiden, Dio, Black Sabbath, and that kind of things, rather than obscure 80s speed metal band that has been a little bit more before but we also have that still in the album. We just wanted to do a little bit larger album that covered more bases, so to speak. But if people think that, if they think that we sound like hair metal, then fine. Then Dio Last in Line is also a hair metal album. Okay. Because that's how I see those type of songs. Yeah. People are stupid, and and especially I feel that many people really have like the urge of wanting to label things into like nonsense. You don't have to label it; you can just enjoy it for being music. And that's how I think it. Yeah.
Because I think in the From Beyond trailer you said that the goal is always like to move forward, and I think you did that with that album. You're really one of those bands who really did that, to move forward and not stick with the old tunes. But that was something intentional.
Well, you always move forward, you always want to develop. There's no use of releasing something new if you haven't anything new to offer. You can't, there's absolutely no use to make a new album if it's not better or like offer something new compared to what you've done before. Then otherwise your songs are just going to be like poor copies of what you achieved before, which unfortunately is the case of a lot of bands. We know that between you and me.
It is,
yeah.
It really is.
Yeah, and you never want to stagnate. You never want to lack inspiration and creativity. That's always what have to be centered.
Speaking of that whole metal scene as a whole, because I wrote one sentence that has to be topic of this interview. The metal scene is dead. Is it?
Close to, I would say. It's or like the traditional metal scene seems to be it seems like a lot of people don't really accept new bands, and they don't accept old bands' new material. Who cares about the new Iron Maiden album? I mean, seriously, if you go to an Iron Maiden show, everyone wants to hear the Number of the Beast songs anyway, and that's what's going to kill the genre. Together with that, there's like a huge unacceptance for the new bands playing classical style. Like maybe not on this type of festivals, but definitely on a larger scale, on a more commercial scale. The younger heavy metal bands they have to break through on a more commercial level in order for the genre to survive. But that seems like a struggle.
So what's the future for the metal scene?
Well, it's up to whoever consumes it.
Okay, so it's up to the listeners.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah.
But stuff like Spotify and Deezer and iTunes make it harder, to get that bond,
Both yes and no. I think we have been very fortunate to have the internet to help us out with, because we have like a small following everywhere. We're a global phenomenon, but a small global phenomenon, but we're still a global phenomenon. We go to Mexico next week and we play in front of 1,500 people. So, I mean, but we would never been able to achieve that if it wasn't for the internet. So there's good and bad things about this, what you're talking about, definitely, yeah. But also there's so many bands out there, so it's a harder competition about the crowds. So
it's also like when you started out, that kind of old school, the concept about being old school, dressing old school, it was something unique when you started out. And obviously nowadays it's not something unique. How do you feel about that?
Well, when we started this movement or this type of or the ideas of this type of band, it was like in 2003, 4, 5 something, and at that time I was pretty much the only one in the world that I knew about, digging the old school heavy metal or old school speed metal, thrash metal, the way I did. But then shortly I got in touch with people from what later became Portrait, Bullet, Helveted Sport, In Solitude, and those kind of guys who were into the same type of ideas, and we started to play a lot together, and eventually this new wave of traditional metal developed from there.
All right.
Yeah.
All right. But do you feel like you're in a competition with all those newer bands who are like copying that kind of style?
No, I don't think so, because I think that you both have the genre and the bands. For example, let's take Metallica. I don't think they would be so huge if it wasn't for the concept of thrash metal. So I think it's like you help each other out by spreading the words on a movement, pretty much. So the more people who get into this and it spreads around, the better it is, I think, for everyone. But of course, you want to do it in a good way and not like an ironic way or a parodic way that I think that some bands do it, which is unfortunately a shame. No one mentioned, but you know what I'm talking about. Yeah.
Going back to what's happening right now, Joseph Toll, who has been in Forces since 2007, has recently left the band. Was that something you expected?
Yeah.
Because from the outside, it was really like a shock,
Yeah, but you don't keep that for the outside. You always like to keep a good facade, of course. No, but we saw it happening. He had a lot of things going on in his life, and he wasn't like we could see that he got more and more detached to what we were doing. No hard feelings. He's one of my best friends ever in my life. So it's
Okay, yeah.
Yeah.
So you split it in a good way. So
definitely, yeah.
All right. And just today, you announced a new tour, if I'm informed right.
Yeah.
It's with Municipal Waste, Skeleton Remains, and Toxic Holocaust, right?
Yeah.
And because I saw that you're touring with Warbringer also in North America, like in 2 weeks. Yeah. And is it easier to stand out as a heavy metal band when you're touring with fresh bands?
I think it has shown that we go very well together with other young bands, and it's hard. And I mean, the more you can mix up the bills, the better. And we're fairly close to those type of bands, when it comes to crowds and when it comes also to sound. We're both like a new generation of worshippers of old metal. So I think it goes very well together, actually. Yeah, it's much better to tour with younger bands than older bands. We've seen if we tour with older bands, it's more like older guys who are very like it doesn't really give much. You know, they don't take in new bands the same way as young people do. So I expect us to come out and play in front of real young crowds, which are, in my opinion, the best crowds. The crowds that are most open for new music.
And what is really special about that tour, I wrote the schedule. It's over 50 gigs with no off day. What's your touring secret, man?
Travel well and have a good crew that helps you out. It's like then it's no problem.
So you don't have any issues when, especially as a singer, I can imagine it is hard.
No, it's like going to the gym. If you work out a little every day, you know, that's how you keep strong. No, that's very true. I mean, the voice is an organic instrument, so it works just the same way.
Okay. And what are the future plans for Enforcer right now?
Very hard to tell. I mean, we just released an album, so I think we're gonna promote the album. We're looking into the idea of making maybe a special release for as a next release, maybe like a live thing with new songs, since the last one was pretty much like 2013, so it's time for a new live record, I think, or something like that, and maybe dig up some old tunes like that we haven't unreleased tracks and some bonus tracks and make something about that. That's just what's been in the talks. Like, but then new studio album. Never stop the madness.
So you will always continue the album touring cycle till you die?
Well, as long as we feel inspired and feel creative what we're doing. I mean, as long as we have great ideas. Yes.
Nice. It's a nice ending. Is there anything you want to say to the fans?
Hello.
Except hello.
Hi. No, I don't know. Well, for whoever's watching it, I mean, we're very happy that you've been sticking around with us for all these years. Or for new fans also, we appreciate that you check us out.
So, that's
keeps it going.
That's what keeps it going. So keep that spirit alive, I would say.
Yeah.
Okay. Thanks, man.
Thank you.
A really pleasure talking to you, and until the next interview. Bye bye.